very special day because we are going to be talking about City of Heaven by Cassandra Clare. Holy crap, this freaking book was amazing. I pre-ordered this book like 2 months ago when I made my theory video, and it came a day early, so I was able to get a quick start on it, and I ended up finishing it the day of the release. Can we just for 2 seconds, just look at how massive this book is. It's freaking huge. How did I finish it in like 6 to 8 hours? I really don't know, but it was really amazing. For those who haven't read the book yet, before I get to the spoiler part, just let me say that this book was not a horrifically heartbreaking ending to a series. If you haven't read it, I'm not going to say much until later. This book literally blew me away with how amazing it turned out. I expected it to be like so cold and heartless and have so much trauma in it, but it wasn't like that at all. It was so good. There were a lot of sad moments where like I just wanted to like rip my chest open and let the feels like flow all over me because I couldn't contain them in my body, but the good really outweighed the bad in this book. And if you haven't read any of Cassandra Clare's stuff, go read it right now. And if you haven't read this baby yet, I'd recommend going away now because this book talk is going to be full of spoilers, and I was lucky enough to not get spoiled, but I know a lot of people aren't, so bye not spoiler people! Now I'm sure a lot of you are like me and probably haven't left even if you haven't read the book because you really just want to know what happens, so I'm going to start with the juicy bit. Who dies in this book? So let's quickly review. The first person to die is Jordan. That was the first death in the book that Cassandra Clare released, that a main character would die really soon. He died like 50 pages in. Basically, Sebastian was hella pissed because he couldn't take control of the London Institute, so he burned down the Praetor Lupus and killed Jordan. Now, there were many reasons why I had a problem with his death, and one of them was that it was just so overlooked. But while Sebastian is leaving, you know, he's talking to Maya and he's giving her a message for the clave, and he just says, by the way, your boyfriend's dead. And that's like it. We don't hear about it for like another chapter and a half or two. And then we finally get to Maya, and we find out that Maya wasn't even in love with him anymore. She was going to break up with him right before he died. Honestly, that is just so much more heartbreaking than him actually dying. I cannot believe that she actually included the fact that Maya was going to break up with him. Throughout the first few chapters, she was like, Jordan, I need to tell you something. I need to tell you something. I need to say it right now. But like, she didn't actually say it out loud. She was thinking it. And I was like, is she pregnant? Is that what this is? Is she just like pregnant with Jordan's baby? Because we know they've had sex, but like I couldn't understand what she was going to tell him. And no, she just doesn't love him anymore, and oh. The second person to die was Meliorn. This is not one that I was expecting. I was expecting all of the deaths to be like main characters that like we've loved and cherished and couldn't stand to see die, and Meliorn just kind of died. His death was just kind of blah. Then the third person to die is Maureen, which I predicted. I mean, she was going to die, obviously. I don't understand how you couldn't have thought she would die. The fourth person to die was Raphael. I was kind of speculating that he would die, but I wasn't really sure of it, so I didn't put it down. I was very surprised to hear the backstory between him and Magnus, where Magnus actually saved his life and kind of like nurtured him into becoming a vampire, and that's why they had this special bond. And what I thought was very interesting that I didn't know was a thing before, but Simon actually felt him die because when your vampire sire dies, you feel it. I don't really understand what happened. When Simon was in pain from it, like they kind of like mentioned Raphael and they just didn't talk about it, and then he finds out later, but whatever. The fifth person to die was Amadis. I kind of figured that one too. I mean, she was a very important character, and then she became endarkened, so they killed her off. I kind of understood that, whatever. And then finally, the last person to die was Sebastian. I had a lot of problems with how he died. I was very disappointed. I kind of like imagined it originally, like he would like burst into flames from JACE, or like he would do something and like be in battle or whatever, and he would just like blow up or something. I don't know. I imagined it to be a really epic death, but instead it was very emotional and strange. So basically how he died is Clary takes the Heavenly Fire out of JACE with the rune she's been talking about since book 1, which we'll get into later. But she puts it into the Morgenstern sword that she now has and stabs Sebastian with it, and because it's the Heavenly Fire, it burns out all that's evil in him. So all of a sudden he has green eyes like Jocelyn and Clary, and he's Jonathan. He's not Sebastian anymore. He dies as Jonathan Morgenstern, the son that Jocelyn would have had and the brother that Clary almost had. It was just very strange because this Jonathan had not been talked about at all in the book. He was in Clary's little hallucination thingy, but he never like played a role. Like he was always Sebastian. He never had that bit of good or that bit of sorrow and grief that he felt while he was dying, and I just felt like it wasn't necessary and it was just kind of out of place. I really only have like one more thing to critique about this book because it was really amazing. But besides Sebastian's death, I didn't like the role that the Dark Artifice's characters played in the book. They were a lot more in depth than I planned them to be. I knew that the whole prologue took place at the Los Angeles Institute, and I totally got that, and I got that, like, they played a little role. It was kind of like every chapter, you know, they included Julian and Emma in it, and I just felt like the book should have been more focused on the Mortal Instruments characters. I understand that we needed somebody in Idris to explain what was going on there while everyone was in the demon realms, but still I feel like there was too much put into it to give us like a preview of the Dark Artifices, and I felt like that wasn't what the Mortal Instruments conclusion should have been about. One huge plot twist in the beginning was that the Steely Queen is fucking Sebastian. If we recall from City of Lost Souls, he addresses a letter to his beautiful one, and originally I kind of thought that was Clary because he's like kind of in love with her. It's very complicated. But it was actually just a sign of respect for the Queen. And then you come into this scene and they're just lying in a bed naked together, and you can just... You know, I don't really know how politics works, but I'm pretty sure you don't have sex with your allies. You know, the United States is allies with Great Britain, but I don't see Barack Obama calling the Queen up for a booty call. That's just not how it works. I was right about how Brother Zachariah gets changed in the beginning of the novel. While they're fighting at the Adamant Citadel, I think that's the name of it, I can't really remember how to pronounce it correctly, but Brother Zachariah kind of touches Jace while he's like going up in flames because Sebastian stabbed him. And it heals him, and I was just really, really happy to see that happen in the beginning because, you know, they kept going back to it, and there was all the relations between Clockwork Princess series. I totally screwed that up. I don't know, I was just very happy that he got healed in the beginning, and, like, he played, like, a bigger role than a silent brother. One of the funniest scenes in the entire book is when Simon kind of drinks drugged blood. When a vampire drinks blood that has been like contaminated with alcohol or drugs, they get a little crazy. So there's just a scene of Simon like yelling outside of Isabel's window, "Isabel, Isabel, let down your raven hair." She's just so drunk. It was so funny. And then it gets even better because Robert comes out and he's like holding a crucifix in front of Simon telling him to get away. And Simon just picks out the crucifix and tosses it, and he's just like, wrong religion. It was just so fun. Okay, composure, composure, composure. We're talking about books here. One thing I really, really loved about this book is how the relationship between Sebastian and Clary strengthens. Not as in like they become closer, but like the intensity of their relationship gets a lot stronger. Sebastian is literally obsessed with Clary at this point. Like, we thought it was all fun and games and stuff, but he is literally obsessed with the thought of her ruling with him. At one point he actually says like, "I love you," and I was just like, I knew it, I knew he loved her, and then he just explains like what he thinks love is and how he's right and Clary's wrong. But he just doesn't understand the difference between love and belonging and ownership and like giving yourself to someone. So he's still a little fucked up with it, but he really does just want Clary. That's all it is, because demons want, they can't love. City of Glass reference. And I love how Clary finally told Jace about how Sebastian almost raped her, because it just made like the hate that he had for Sebastian even stronger, and it was a very, very emotional moment between them. Another thing that was just so great about this book is that throughout every single book in this series, there has been something tearing them apart. Whether it was the fact that they were siblings for like 2.5 books, or that Lilith was controlling Jace, or that Jace was kind of Sebastian's little toy. But now they're together and they're fighting together, and there's really nothing pulling them apart. They're just kind of going through everything together, and they're just strengthening as a couple. And that was something that I was really, really hoping for. I don't think I could have dealt with it if Cassandra Clare made Clary and Jace have even more problems. They deserved one book where they could just be happy with each other. One of the best scenes of the whole book was when they were deciding that they needed to go into the demon realms to get Sebastian, and then Jace really sticks up for Simon. Like, he finally realizes that whether he likes it or not, even though he really does like it at this point, Simon is a part of their group. He sticks up for him and says that he's coming, he's a part of this, and the character development in this book was so great. Everything just grew. Nothing like diminished. It just grew into something bigger and deeper, and I loved it. Another big character development in this book was Alec. Now, Clary, Jace, even Simon and Isabel, they've all been growing throughout the books, but I always pictured Alec as the most static character. But in this book, he really grew as a character, and it was just so nice to see. First, when Magnus goes to see him off before Idris, he like pushes him away and is like, "You shouldn't have come, you shouldn't have done this, like, you didn't want anything to do with me, just let it be." And that was very strong of him, because in the beginning of the book, like, he just couldn't stop calling him. Then while they're in the demon realms, Jason's like, "Go bake a pie while we go explore and try and figure out where we're going." And then Alec comes back and is like, "I didn't make you a pie for a bunch of reasons. 1, I didn't have the ingredients. I forgot what number 2 was. And 3, I'm not your bitch." I love Alec. I thought Maya becoming the pack leader was really cool. Like, I think that she's totally a strong enough person that she deserved that position. But she was so left out in this book. Oh my god, it was like Jordan died and she had just no point in this story. But that's not what I meant. She played a really big role. She got the vampires and the werewolves to agree on an alliance to take down Sebastian. She sent the letter to Gia saying that Sebastian was going to attack. She played a really big part, but we didn't see enough of her. I was really upset that we didn't get to see more of Maya. Like, it was literally like Jordan died and like she just wasn't a character anymore. She was like a side character all of a sudden. Something I had been dying to find out about for a very long time was the rune that Claire has been envisioning from book, the 2 wings connected by 1 bar. She's mentioned this in almost every single book. I was just very, very excited to find out that I finally knew what it meant. And it was good that it healed Jace too. I mean, now they can touch and everything. And let me get to that. So their sex scene was the greatest thing I have ever read in my entire life. I've literally been waiting for that scene since book 1, since I first saw the movie, before I even knew the books had happened. And it was just so good to finally read. With Will and Tessa's sex scene, you know, they kind of like cut out a bit and then like woke up. But like the whole thing happened in the book and it was just beautiful. I'm sorry, I'm one of those creepy fangirls on Tumblr. I can't help it, but it was just really excited for that to finally happen. Another cool thing that we found out was we finally found out who Magnus's dad is. If I remember correctly, that was something they touched upon in the Infernal Devices and something they talked about a lot in the Mortal Instruments series. So it was only a matter of time before we found out. While they were in the demon realms, I kind of figured when they started talking about Asmodeus, I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry they don't offer demonology as an elective in my school. For a while I kind of thought it might have been Lucifer, but I was like, that's kind of too big to include in the plot. So my next best guess was that he was one of the princes of hell, and I was right. The whole Simon thing in the last 100 pages, oh my god. I don't even know what to say about it. I was a mess. It was so heartbreaking. So Magnus offers to give up his immortality so that everyone can go safely back into the normal world. You know, he doesn't care. He feels he's lived long enough and then like even his memories won't matter. But then Asmodeus, I think that's the name, decides he wants Simon instead. And Simon willingly gives up his immortality, gives up his memories of the Shadow World and everyone in it. And oh my god, that was just the saddest thing. Like, that is a fate worse than death. I considered him dead because I can't think of anything worse to happen in this series than just to forget about everyone while they still remember you. That is such a terrible thing. That is like some champion shit right there. But then you get to the epilogue, which was the best bit of the whole book. It was a really long epilogue, but it was so worth every page. It was amazing. So the first thing we find out is that Simon finally picks a band name. We find out the final name, and you know what it is? It's the Mortal Instruments. I literally, I was laying down and I, sat up. I was like, what? Oh my god. It was so great. I was like, she definitely planned that from book 1. It was just too perfect. I don't know why I never thought of it before. And then, you know, he doesn't remember Clary. Clary tries to get through to him, but he doesn't remember her. Now, Clary doesn't know, his last band name. He gives a flyer that Simon gave her to Isabel and Magnus. And then they realize he subconsciously remembers, a little bit of it. So then it's time for them to make a difference. So Magnus offers him a choice. And do you want to know what the choice is? For him to ascend. I was like, that was the greatest thing. I was so glad Cassandra Clare included this and didn't just leave him forgetting them. That was so good, because now they can really get married. Isabel and Simon are definitely getting married in the future, because they're both shadow hunters now, or they will be at least. And it's just going to be so perfect, and they finally end up together. I knew that Cassandra Clare was going to include Jace's decision between being a Lightwood or a Herondale, and I kind of still consider him Jace Wayland because that was the way I was introduced. That's not going to change. I'm always going to say Jace Wayland before I say Jace Herondale, but he chooses to be a Herondale, and I thought that was a very big decision for him to choose. The whole problem with Jace's identity has been a huge thing throughout the entire book. He's always debating, you know, what he is, what his family is, and he finally chooses to be a Herondale, and I just thought that was such an important key. And then when Tessa gives Clary the rings to give to Jace, so they have the Herondale ring, and it was just so lovely. Also in the epilogue, and also having to do with Alec's character development, we see that Malik gets back together, which is something the fandom has been waiting for since the end of City of Lost Souls. So Alex stands up for himself and says, I'm not going to get back together if you're not going to open up for me, because this isn't going to work. I can't date you if I don't know anything about your past. But then Magnus writes down in a notebook a lot about his life, and it was just so cute because he was so hard for being alive for so long and had so much trouble opening up, and now like he's ready to do that with Alec, and it was just such a beautiful moment. Feels! This book was just so lovely. I really can't get over it. I'm going to reread it before I read another book because it was just so good. I have to relive it. I have to. So ultimately, this book was phenomenal. I am extremely sad to see the Mortal Instruments series end because in such a short amount of time it has become so important to me. But really, the way it ended, it was satisfying, and I'm happy with the way it ended, and I think that's the most important part. This book series is so good, and if you don't pick it up, I'm going to hit you with this massive book because it'll really hurt. 733 plus pages of pain if you don't read the series. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope my first book talk ever wasn't terrible because it was a really important book, and I hope I got that across. Now I can finally get back into normal videos and reviews and Top 5 Wednesdays and all that fun stuff because the Mortal Instruments series is over. Thank you guys for sticking it out with me all this May while all I did was talk about the Mortal Instruments, and I love you guys, so bye.